Hello, class. This is Mr. Eggleston. This is lesson 2.1, proportional reasoning for algebra 1P. I'm going to try to stay consistent and actually record these lessons so that you can go back and watch them at your leisure. So proportional reasoning is our learning targets are going to be to recognize when two quantities have a proportional relationship and describe what this means. We're going to discuss what exactly do we mean by a proportional relationship. We're going to use proportional reasoning to find unknown quantities by scaling in tandem, and I'll show you that, or finding a unit rate. I prefer the unit rate method, but I will also do my best to show you the scaling in tandem. And finally, we're going to generalize what we figured out for proportional reasoning and write a proportional relationship in the form y equals kx for some constant multiple k. All right, so here it is. Malik is on a road trip and needs to get gas. The credit card reader is broken at the pump, so he has to prepay inside. Tells the cashier he needs 12 gallons of premium. The total is $40.68. All right, so we know that for 12 gallons, it costs $40.68. Mr. Zimmerman, who is a different person, drives an RV, so he must be an old guy like me, that needs 24 gallons of premium gas. How much will this cost? Show how you figure it out. There's lots of ways, so I want you to pause this and see if you can figure it out. All right? So the first thing I notice is that for 12 gallons, it cost a total of $40.68. So 24 gallons is double. So the cost would be double. Thus, the cost is 40.68 times 2. Which works out to $81.36. That's 2 type. So it would equal $81.36. How much would it cost to get just 4 gallons? Well, 4 gallons is 6 times less, right? In other words, we know 4 gallons will be is equal to 24 divided by 6 gallons. So the price would be $81.36 divided by 6. This is just one way of doing it. And so 24 divided by 6. So it'll be the cost of 24 gallons divided by 6, which would be $13.56. Another way of doing it would have been to find the unit rate, how much the price per gallon. So we could have figured out, and this is also a very valid way of doing it. This is actually my preferred way, is to take the $40.68 and divide it by 12. And that will give me how much it would cost per gallon. And that's $3.39, which is fairly inexpensive nowadays. So we know each gallon costs $3.39. So how much did this order cost when you had 14.547 gallons? Well, for each gallon, it's going to be $3.39. So 14 times 3.39 is, and I'm just doing the 14. I don't know why I did it this way. It's just what I did. Is 47.46. Now we have to worry about the 0.547. Oh, sorry. The 0.547. Which is $1.85, 1.854. So if I add that together, that would be the total cost. Or, now that I'm thinking about it, just take 14.547, the amount of gallons you bought, and multiply it by 3.39, the cost per gallon. All right, and that comes out to be what is that, 3.99? 3.39, sorry, my eyes are bad. $49.31. Okay. By the way, again, the $3.39 is the unit price. Okay, it's the price per gallon. So if you just know the number of gallons, you multiply. So the next one is Jack paid $30.59 for premium gas. How many gallons did he get? Well, we know that $30.59 was the total amount paid. That's got to equal the unit price times N, where N equals the number of gallons. So the number of gallons, I mean, that's an equation, and we're not quite there yet, but to write that would just be 30.59 divided by 3.39. And that works out to be 9.02 gallons. Okay. I just took the total cost divided by the cost per gallon. So describe the relationship between the number of gallons, the cost, Y, and the number of gallons bought, X. Well, they're trying to get you to write an equation. That would be Y would equal the 3.39 times X. So now use your relationship to find the cost when X equals 0. Well, that's pretty straightforward. If you don't buy any gas, you're not going to pay any money. So Y equals 3.39 times 0, which is $0. Now, Penny goes to a gas station across town and pays $51.15 for 15 gallons of premium gas. Which gas is cheaper? So it depends on how you define what cheaper is. So I would really base it off of the price per gallon, which is what most of us do. So that would be 51.15 divided by 15. All right, and 15. I typed in 51.15 divided by 15, and that works out to be 3.41. Okay, 3.41 is not cheaper. Okay, this is dollars per gallon. So, which gas station is cheaper? It is the one that Jack went to. Jack's station is 41.39. Let's see. Is 2 cents, a whopping 2 cents cheaper. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Here is the quick notes. We got basically 3 learning targets. The first learning targets, we learned that 2 quantities have a proportional relationship if they scale in tandem. One variable is always a constant multiple of the other. That's what it means to scale in tandem. All right? That's kind of a key concept. That one variable is always a constant multiple of the other. Okay? Learning target 2, to find the missing values, scale in tandem or find a unit rate. You notice I went straight to the unit rate because I just like unit rates. Okay? You guys are free to try to scale in tandem. So, and then, okay, scaling in tandem means you know that 1 gallon, 1 gallon is $3.75. Then you know that 4 gallons would be 4 times 175, which is 15. Sorry about that. Okay, and then 8 would be 30 because 15 or 8 is double 4, so the cost would be double the cost of 4, 30. 12 would be 45 because 12 is 1.5 times 4. No, 2.5 times 4. So you could go 15 times or 30 times 2.5, or is it 15 times 2.5? Anyway, and that will get you to the answer. The other option is to write an equation, y equals kx. For us, K was the price per gallon that we found of, what was it, $3.39 for Jack's? Yep. And then X would be the number of gallons, and Y would be the cost. So in this case, in the generalized form, it would be quantity A, something from A equals some multiple of quantity B. K is the rate of change. Okay. And there you go. That was the note. Okay. Let's quickly do the check your understanding. So Crosby's recipe for dinner rolls requires 1,000 grams of flour to make 24 rolls. How many grams of flour will Crosby need to make 72 rolls? Well, how many times more is 72 than 24? Okay, since 72 equals 3 times 24, we would need 3 times the number of grams of flour. So the grams of flour equals 3 times 1,000, because 1,000 grams, that's 100. 1,000 grams was for 24 rolls. And since 72 is 3 times that, we would need 3,000 grams. If Crosby wanted to make only 6 rolls, okay, how many grams of flour would he need? By the way, you should pause this and do these and then check with me or watch the video. If Crosby wanted to make only 6 rolls, well, it took 1,000 for 24, right? So how many? 6 over 24 equals 1/4. So you're making a quarter of the amount of rolls. So that means you're going to need a quarter amount of flour. So that's 1,000 times a quarter, or divided by 4. All right, 1,000 divided by 4. And it turns out we need 250 grams. Okay, how many grams of flour I need to make 1 roll? Wow, now we're going to the unit rate. So how many grams of flour I need to make 1 roll? Well, if it took 1,000 grams for 24 or 250 grams for 6, we could go with, well, take the 250, divide it by 6, and that will be your unit rate because it took 250 for 6. You divide the 250 by 6. That works out to be about 41 2/3. 41 2/3 grams. So the final is write an equation that gives the grams of flour F needed to make our rolls. Well, F equals, I'm going to write the 41 2/3 grams. That's 41.667. I go to 3 decimals times R. For 1 roll, it was 41 2/3 grams. All right. So for R rolls is going to be that number times R. The last question, E. Crosby has 2,380 grams of flour left in his pantry. How many rolls? So we know 1 roll equals 41.667 grams of flour. So we could see how many times this can go into 2,380 grams. Okay. And that equals so it's 2,380. I'm using a calculator, hint, hint. Maybe you need to get one. That works out to be 57.12 rolls. Or, because you can't make 0.12, 57 rolls. All right. Cans of soup are stacked for a display at the grocery store. A stack of 3 cans stands 12.75 inches tall. How would a stack of 5 cans be? All right. So we are told 3 cans equals 12.75. And the question is, how tall would 5 cans be? All right, well, what I would do is get the unit rate. All right, 12.75 divided by 3, that'll tell me the height per can. All right, and 12.75 divided by 3 is 4.25, and that's inches per can. Then I would multiply it by the number of cans. that we want. We want 5 cans. And that would work out to be equal to 21.25 inches. Okay. All right. Now, the table shows the cost of getting t-shirts printed at a printing company. So, relationship between the cost and the number of shirts proportional. If it's proportional, notice, if you had 10 shirts, it cost $120, which if you think about it, that's $12 per shirt, right? The unit rate would be 120 divided by 10 equals $12. So 20 should be double that. So double 120 is 240. 30 should be triple 120, and triple 120 should be 360. So no is relationship between the cost and the number of shirts proportional. Well, no, because 30 shirts should cost 3 times 120. Okay, which is 360. And that's not equal to what's given as 330. So they're not proportional. All right, and there you go. That was lesson uno, or dos point 1. All right, thank you. Have a good day.